Hi, I'm Jennifer Chen Van Oss, and I'm going to tell you about our paper in the Journal of Dairy Science, Muddy Conditions Reduce Hygiene and Lying Time in Dairy Cattle and Increase Time Spent on Concrete. In dry lot or bedded pack housing, or on pasture, moisture can create muddy surfaces. Previous research has found that dairy cattle show signs of increased stress in rainy and windy conditions, but no work has separated the effects of inclement weather from muddy ground conditions. Our objective was to evaluate the effects of muddy ground surfaces on the lying behavior, dirtiness, and physiological responses of dairy cattle. We housed 6 pairs of dairy cattle in indoor pens with dirt floors and a concrete feed apron. Each pair consisted of 1 cow and 1 heifer, both pregnant and non-lactating. We used both heifers and cows because we predicted their responses may depend on body weight and udder size, which may affect their willingness to lie down on concrete and the surface area exposed to mud while lying down. All cattle were exposed to 3 levels of soil moisture for 5 days per treatment, with a 1-week rest between each. We found that in muddier conditions, cattle spent more time on concrete. Previous research has shown that cows consider concrete to be an undesirable surface to lie down on, and when the soil was dry, the cattle in our study never chose to lie down on concrete. In muddier conditions, however, heifers in particular spent less time lying on mud and more time lying on the concrete feed pad. In fact, in the very muddy treatment, all heifers spent 87 to 100% of their lying time on concrete. This shows that cattle considered mud to be an even more aversive lying surface than concrete. In addition to changing where they chose to lie down, mud also affected how long cattle spent lying. Previous research has shown that dairy cattle are motivated to spend at least half of the day lying down, and in the dry treatment, both heifers and cows spent over 12 hours per day lying down. In muddier conditions, cattle spent less time lying down, especially during the first day. Compared to on dry soil, in the muddiest condition, the amount of lying time for heifers and cows was reduced by half and 3/4 respectively. The reduction in lying time reflected a decrease in both lying frequency and the duration of lying bouts. Over days, cattle continued to lie down less frequently in muddier conditions, but stayed lying for longer periods, and this likely reflected compensation due to fatigue. The reduction in lying was greater for cows than for heifers. This is perhaps because cows had greater difficulty transitioning between lying and standing on hard surfaces such as concrete. So instead of shifting where they chose to lie down, like the heifers did, cows stayed standing for longer. When cattle did choose to lie down on wetter soil, they tucked their legs beneath their bodies more often, which limited the surface area they exposed to their surroundings. In addition, although cattle spent less time lying down on wetter soil, their legs, udders, and sides became dirtier in muddier conditions. Finally, exposure to wetter soil resulted in greater reductions in white blood cell counts relative to baseline levels, suggesting possible immunosuppression. In summary, muddy conditions reduced lying time, especially for cows, and increased time spent on concrete, especially for heifers. When cattle did lie down on mud, they did so with a tucked posture. Cattle became dirtier in muddier conditions and showed greater decreases in white blood cell counts. These results showed that even in the absence of wind or rain, muddy conditions are aversive to cattle and have negative implications for their welfare. Our study adds to a growing body of research that underscores the importance of providing dairy cattle with a dry surface underfoot.